Marcus held the $47,000 hospital bill with shaking hands. His 8-year-old daughter Lily was dying, and he had no money for her heart surgery. Then a child's scream pierced the air at Sunset Lake. What happened next would change their lives forever, but first, someone had to be saved. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. Marcus Williams stood in the hospital hallway, his worn-out sneakers squeaking against the polished floor. His hands shook as he held the medical bill, $47,000 for his daughter's heart surgery. The numbers blurred through his tired eyes. "Daddy?" A weak voice called from the hospital bed. 8-year-old Lily looked so small under the white sheets. Her bright blue eyes, once full of life, now seemed dim. The heart monitor beeped steadily beside her bed. "I'm here, princess," Marcus said, forcing a smile as he sat beside her. "Are we going home soon?" Lily asked, her small hand reaching for his. Marcus squeezed her tiny fingers gently. "Soon, baby. Very soon." But Marcus knew the truth. Without the surgery, Lily had only months to live. And without money there would be no surgery. His job at the construction site barely paid for their small apartment and food. The insurance company had denied their claim twice. That evening Marcus walked to Sunset Lake, the only place where he could think clearly. The lake was beautiful, surrounded by expensive houses where rich families lived. Sometimes he brought Lily here when she felt strong enough. She loved feeding the ducks. As he sat on the old wooden bench, Marcus felt hopeless. He had tried everything: loans, charity organizations, even a crowdfunding page that raised only $200. Nothing seemed to work. "God," he whispered to the darkening sky, "I don't ask for much. But please don't take my little girl. She's all I have left." The wind rustled through the trees, and somewhere in the distance, a child was laughing. The sound made Marcus's heart ache. Would he ever hear Lily laugh like that again? 3 days later, Marcus brought Lily to the lake. She had begged him all morning, and the doctor said fresh air might help her feel better. She sat in her wheelchair, wrapped in her favorite pink blanket. "Look, Daddy. The ducks remember me." Lily giggled as several ducks swam toward them. Marcus smiled, watching his daughter's face light up for the first time in weeks. Maybe this was exactly what she needed. "Can we go closer to the water?" Lily asked. "Sure, princess. But just for a few minutes." Marcus pushed her wheelchair to the water's edge. Lily threw pieces of bread to the ducks, clapping her hands with joy. For a moment, Marcus forgot about their troubles. Suddenly, screams pierced the air. "Help! Someone help!" Marcus turned toward the sound. About 50 feet away, a woman in expensive clothes was pointing at the water, screaming hysterically. "My son. He can't swim." Marcus saw a small boy, maybe 6 years old, thrashing in the deep water. He was going under, coming up, going under again. The child was drowning. Without thinking, Marcus ran toward the water. Behind him, he heard Lily call out, "Daddy, wait!" But there was no time to wait. The boy was sinking. Marcus dove into the cold lake, his clothes weighing him down. He was a strong swimmer. He'd learned as a child when his father took him to the river every summer. Now those skills might save a life. The water was murky, but Marcus could see the boy's small form sinking deeper. With powerful strokes, he reached the child and wrapped his arm around the boy's chest. The kid was unconscious. Marcus kicked hard, fighting to reach the surface. His lungs burned, but he pushed upward with everything he had. Finally, they broke through the water. "I've got him," Marcus shouted, swimming toward shore with the limp boy in his arms. By the time they reached the shallow water, a crowd had gathered. Someone called 911. Marcus laid the boy on the grass and started CPR. Something he'd learned during his construction job safety training. "Come on, buddy," Marcus whispered, pressing on the small chest. "Breathe for me." After what felt like forever, the boy coughed up water and opened his eyes. "Ethan." The woman ran to her son, tears streaming down her face. "Oh, my baby." The boy, Ethan, looked around confused but alive. The paramedics arrived and checked him over, but he was going to be fine. As the ambulance drove away with Ethan and his mother for a checkup at the hospital, Marcus stood dripping wet by the lake. His heart was still racing from the rescue. "Daddy." Lily rolled her wheelchair toward him as fast as she could. "You saved him. You're a hero." Marcus knelt down and hugged his daughter. "I just did what anyone would do, princess." "No," said a deep voice behind them. "You did what very few people would do." Marcus turned around. A tall man in an expensive suit was walking toward them. He had salt and pepper hair and kind eyes that looked familiar. "I'm Richard Sterling," the man said, extending his hand. Ethan is my grandson. Marcus shook the man's hand, recognizing the name. Richard Sterling was one of the richest men in the city. He owned Sterling Industries and lived in the biggest house by the lake. I'm Marcus Williams, he replied. This is my daughter Lily. Richard looked down at Lily in her wheelchair and smiled warmly. Hello, Lily. Your father is very brave. I know, Lily said proudly. He's the best daddy in the world. Mr. Williams, Richard said, his voice serious, what you did today, there are no words. You risked your life to save my grandson. How can I ever repay you? Marcus felt uncomfortable. You don't owe me anything, sir. I'm just glad the boy is okay. Please, Richard insisted. There must be something I can do. Marcus looked at Lily, then back at Richard. A crazy thought entered his mind, but he pushed it away. He couldn't ask a stranger for money, even if that stranger was rich. Really, Mr. Sterling? Seeing that boy alive is enough for me. Richard studied Marcus's face. There was something about this man, his humility, his genuine care for others, that impressed him deeply. Sarah, who had been listening, gasped softly. Oh, Marcus. It's okay, Marcus said quickly. We're exploring options. There might be other ways. But Richard could see the desperation in Marcus's eyes, the same desperation he'd felt years ago when his own wife was sick and he couldn't save her. What hospital? Richard asked. City General. Dr. Martinez is her cardiologist. Richard nodded, filing away the information. The rest of the evening was wonderful, but Marcus noticed Richard seemed lost in thought. When they said goodbye, Richard shook Marcus's hand for a long time. Thank you again, Richard said. For everything. 3 days later, Marcus was at work when his phone rang. It was Dr. Martinez. Mr. Williams? I have some incredible news. Marcus's heart skipped. What is it, doctor? An anonymous donor has paid for Lily's entire surgery. Everything is covered, the operation, hospital stay, follow-up care, everything. Marcus almost dropped his phone. What? That's impossible. Who would? I can't reveal the donor's identity, but I can tell you they've been watching Lily's case closely. We can schedule the surgery for next week if you're ready. Marcus sat down heavily on a stack of lumber. Tears streamed down his face as construction workers stared at him in confusion. Mr. Williams? Are you there? Yes, Marcus whispered. Yes, we're ready. That evening, Marcus told Lily the news. She jumped up and down on her bed, something she hadn't had energy for in weeks, and hugged him tight. We're going to be okay, Daddy? Yes, Princess. We're going to be okay. But Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that he knew who their Mr. At least let me take you both out for dinner tomorrow, Richard said. My grandson would love to thank you properly. Marcus wanted to say no, but Lily's eyes lit up with excitement. Can we, Daddy? Please? How could he say no to that face? Okay, Marcus agreed. But somewhere simple. We're not fancy people. Richard smiled. I know exactly the place. The next evening, Richard picked them up in a regular car. Not the limousine Marcus had expected. They went to a family restaurant downtown, the kind of place Marcus actually felt comfortable in. Ethan was there with his mother, Sarah, Richard's daughter. The boy ran to Marcus the moment he saw him. You saved me, Ethan said, hugging Marcus's legs. Grandpa says you're a hero. I'm just happy you're safe, buddy, Marcus said, ruffling the boy's hair. During dinner, the two families talked and laughed together. Lily and Ethan became fast friends, sharing stories and drawing pictures on napkins. It was the happiest Marcus had seen his daughter in months. But Richard was observant. He noticed how Lily got tired easily, how Marcus kept checking on her, how she took medicine with her meal. Is Lily okay? Richard asked quietly when the children were distracted. Marcus's smile faded. She has a heart condition. She needs surgery, but... He trailed off, not wanting to burden this kind man with his problems. But what? Richard pressed gently. Marcus sighed. But we can't afford it. Insurance won't cover it, and I don't have that kind of money. Richard's expression grew serious. What kind of surgery? A heart valve replacement. It costs $47,000. Without it, Marcus couldn't finish the sentence. East donor was. The day of Lily's surgery, Marcus paced the hospital waiting room like a caged animal. He'd been there since 5 a.m., even though the surgery didn't start until 8. At 7:30, he was surprised to see Richard Sterling walk through the doors. Richard? What are you doing here? I wanted to be here for you, Richard said simply. And for Lily. Marcus's suspicions were confirmed. It was you, wasn't it? You paid for the surgery. Richard sat down beside him. A little girl saved my grandson's life through her father's courage. It was the least I could do. Richard, I can't accept this. It's too much. Marcus, Richard said firmly, 6 months ago I lost my wife to cancer. I had all the money in the world but I couldn't save her. Today I can save your daughter. Please don't take that away from me. Marcus saw the pain in Richard's eyes and understood. This wasn't just about helping Lily, it was about Richard finding a way to heal his own heart. Thank you, Marcus said quietly. I don't know how I'll ever repay you. You already have, Richard replied. You gave me my grandson back. The surgery took 4 hours. Dr. Martinez finally emerged, smiling. The surgery was a complete success. Lily's going to make a full recovery. Both men hugged each other, crying tears of joy and relief. Lily's recovery was remarkable. Within 2 weeks, she had more energy than she'd had in years. Her cheeks grew rosy, her eyes sparkled, and her laughter filled their small apartment once again. But Richard had more surprises in store. Marcus, he said during one of his daily visits, I have a proposition for you. What kind of proposition? I need a new head of security for Sterling Industries. Someone I trust completely. Someone with good instincts and a brave heart. The job pays $80,000 a year, plus full medical benefits for you and Lily. Marcus stared at him in shock. Richard, I don't have experience in security. But you have something better, integrity. You can learn the technical stuff. I need someone I can trust, and I've never trusted anyone more than I trust you. Marcus felt overwhelmed. In 1 month, his entire life had changed. His daughter was healthy, and now he was being offered a job that would give them security forever. There's one condition, Richard added with a smile. What's that? Lily and Ethan have become best friends. Sarah and I want to make sure they can see each other as much as possible. The job comes with a house, a nice one near the lake close to where we live. Marcus felt tears coming again. Richard, why are you doing all this? Richard's expression grew serious. Because 6 months ago I thought my life was over. I had money but I'd lost the 2 most important things, my wife and my faith in people. You gave me back my faith, Marcus. You showed me that there are still good people in this world who do the right thing simply because it's right. I just did what any parent would do. No, Richard said firmly. You did what a hero would do. And heroes deserve to be rewarded. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the backyard of his new house, watching Lily and Ethan play by the lake. Lily was running and laughing, her heart strong and healthy. It was hard to believe she'd ever been sick. The job at Sterling Industries had been challenging but rewarding. Richard had been right. Marcus had good instincts and he'd learned quickly. More importantly, he'd found purpose in protecting others, just like he'd protected Ethan that day at the lake. Daddy? Lily called out. Come play with us. Marcus smiled and walked toward the children. As he got closer, he saw Richard and Sarah approaching from their house next door. How's my favorite hero today? Richard asked with a grin. Just grateful, Marcus replied. Every single day. We wanted to tell you both something, Sarah said, looking excited. What's that? Marcus asked. Richard cleared his throat. Well, Lily's birthday is next month and Ethan's is the month after. We were thinking, maybe we could have a joint party? The kids are practically siblings anyway. Lily and Ethan cheered and high-fived each other. That sounds perfect, Marcus said. As they all sat by the lake watching the sunset, Marcus reflected on how much had changed. A year ago, he'd been a desperate father with a dying daughter and no hope. Now Lily was healthy, they had a beautiful home, and they'd gained a second family. You know what the best part is? Lily said, snuggling up to her father. What's that, princess? We're all together. You, me, Mr. Richard, Miss Sarah, and Ethan. We're like one big family. Richard smiled and put his arm around Marcus's shoulder. She's right, you know. We are a family. 1 year later, Marcus stood at the same spot by the lake where everything had changed. Today was special. It was the anniversary of Ethan's rescue, and they were having a celebration. The party was in full swing. Lily, now completely healthy and full of life, was organizing games for all the children. Ethan, confident and happy, was helping her. Other families from the neighborhood had joined them, drawn by the warmth and kindness of this unusual extended family. Dr. Martinez was there too, marveling at Lily's complete recovery. She's perfect, he told Marcus. Her heart is stronger than ever. I know, Marcus said, watching his daughter laugh. She's a miracle. You both are, came a familiar voice. Marcus turned to see Richard approaching with a wrapped gift. What's this for? Marcus asked. It's not for you, Richard said with a mysterious smile. It's for everyone. He gathered the group around and cleared his throat. A year ago, a brave man jumped into this lake to save my grandson. That act of courage didn't just save Ethan, it saved all of us. It brought us together as a family. Everyone clapped, and Marcus felt his cheeks redden with embarrassment. So, Richard continued, I wanted to do something to make sure this story continues to inspire others. He handed the gift to Marcus. Open it. Inside was a beautiful plaque that read, The Hero's Heart Foundation, providing life-saving medical care for children in need. Founded in honor of Lily Williams and her father Marcus, who showed us that heroes live among us every day. Marcus looked up at Richard in amazement. You started a foundation? We started a foundation, Richard corrected. You're going to run it? We're going to help other families like yours, other children like Lily. Sarah stepped forward. We've already raised $500,000. Our first family is a little boy named Tommy who needs kidney surgery. Lily ran to her father and hugged him tight. Daddy, we're going to help other kids like me? Yes, Princess. We're going to help lots of kids. Ethan joined the hug. My grandpa says helping people is the most important thing we can do. He's right, Marcus said, looking around at all the faces, friends who had become family, strangers who had become loved ones. 5 years had passed since that fateful day at Sunset Lake. The Hero's Heart Foundation had grown beyond anyone's dreams. They'd helped over 200 families, providing life-saving medical care for children who couldn't afford it. Marcus, now 35, had found his true calling. Every day he met with families facing the same desperation he'd once felt. Every day he got to be the miracle someone desperately needed. Lily, now 13, was healthy, strong, and passionate about helping others. She volunteered at the foundation every weekend, playing with sick children and giving them hope. Ethan, 11, had become like a son to Marcus and a brother to Lily. The three of them were inseparable. Richard, now in his 60s, had found new purpose in his golden years. He discovered that true wealth wasn't in his bank account. It was in the lives they'd touched together. On this particular evening, they all sat by the lake again, watching another beautiful sunset. It had become a tradition. Every week, the whole family gathered here to share dinner and stories. You know what I was thinking? Lily said, now a thoughtful teenager. What's that, sweetheart? Marcus asked. That day when you saved Ethan, you were trying to save one person. But really you saved all of us. You saved our whole family. And hundreds of other families too, Ethan added proudly. Richard nodded thoughtfully. It's amazing how one act of courage can change so many lives. It wasn't courage, Marcus said quietly. It was love. When you love someone, you do whatever it takes to protect them. That day I saw a child who needed help, and for that moment he was my child too. Sarah, who had been quiet, spoke up. That's what makes you special, Marcus. You see everyone as family. As the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, Marcus felt a deep sense of peace. His life hadn't turned out the way he'd planned, but it had turned out better than he'd ever dreamed. Lily leaned against his shoulder. I love our life, Daddy. Me too, Princess. Me too. The lake lapped gently against the shore, and somewhere in the distance, children were laughing. The sound of joy and hope that would continue long after this moment had passed. Because sometimes when you save one life, you end up saving your own. And sometimes, when you open your heart to help one person, you discover a whole family you never knew you needed. The end was really just the beginning of healing, of love, of a legacy that would touch countless lives for generations to come. And it all started with one father's love for his daughter and one moment of courage that changed everything. As Marcus looked around at his chosen family, he whispered a prayer of gratitude to the same sky he'd once begged for help. Sometimes he realized, miracles come disguised as opportunities to serve others. And the greatest gift isn't what you receive, it's what you're able to give. The Hero's Heart Foundation continued to grow, touching lives around the world. But for Marcus, the greatest success was measured in simpler terms. His daughter's laughter, his chosen family's love, and the knowledge that every day, somewhere, another child was getting the chance to live because someone chose to be brave. And every evening as the sun set over Sunset Lake, he was reminded that heroes aren't born. They're made, one act of love at a time.